On the surface, it looks like people pleasers are saints amongst men, those with purer heart than many, as they constantly sacrifice themselves for those around them. It would appear to be the exact same love that God has for us. However, you couldn't be more wrong. If what we saw on the outside was the same as what was going on inside, then yeah, I'd be dead wrong, but I'm not. How would I know? Because I used to be one of them. What makes people pleasers different from those led by agape love is the motivation for doing these things. One does it to feel needed and constantly appreciated, to feel better about themselves. The other just does it because it should be done. But the key point and the key difference between them is whether they're doing it for themselves or for them. Think about it in terms of this common proverb. Give a man a fish and he will eat for a day. Teach a man to fish and he will eat for a lifetime. Which is better for this man? Take the time to come up with an answer with this question yourself, and you can keep a mental note of it in your head. You can use pen and paper, or if you're feeling bold, you can write it in the comment section down below. Whatever answer you have, remember it, because it's gonna come in handy later. But what's the problem then if both the people pleasers and the agape lovers are both doing the same thing? What's the issue? The people pleaser doesn't know where to stop. In life, we all come to a point where we're presented with choices which have very clear, wrong answers. When we are sober in mind, well, obviously we're gonna pick the right answer. Or when on the other side of that choice lies somebody whom we hold very near and dear to our hearts, what do we do then? Take for example this scenario. You're a uni student and you have an essay which you need to finish at the last minute. Or you've got a night out with your friends. And so my question to you is, which one would you choose? Regardless of whether we'd admit it or not, there is a right answer. But why then would we intentionally choose the wrong one? Because we care. That essay can go burn for all that I care. I could just do it tomorrow. They're more important than my degree. No, they're not. True, friendships are important and God has created us as relational beings. But these relationships do not come at the cost of your uni degree, because that needs to be in order first so that you can properly enjoy everything else that uni has to offer, including friends. Leaving that essay to the last second may, or even will, squander the thousands of pounds you've spent to make it this far. That will cost you a lot more than leaving your friend alone for just a little while. But the people pleaser will never see it that way, because the affirmation of that person when they do what pleases them will satisfy them more than anything else in the world. More than their degree, more than their family, and more than even God. And that is where the true danger lies. People pleasing makes an idol of others in the place where God should be. In fact, it puts ourselves on the throne of obedience in our hearts, because everything that we do for ourselves and for others now becomes about us. As in, how can helping them help me? That's just narcissism. People aren't the ones who are going to fulfill the deepest desires that we have. They're certainly not going to be the ones to make the need to feel needed go away. And they certainly are not going to be the ones to save us from the lonely, wretched messes we call ourselves. That's God's place. And anything which presumes to take that place makes itself out to be your God. And if your God lacks the power to raise you from the dead, then you have no hope for a life past the resurrection. God, time and time again, has proven himself to be a God who makes the impossible possible. He can set wood alight as he did in the time of Elijah. He can bring a 90-year-old woman to give birth as he did with Sarah. He can raise the dead back to life. And he can surely do what I thought was impossible even in myself, and rid us of the urges or this compelling desire to want to please others, as opposed to him. That he can do. These are certainly too hard for humans to deal with, or anything else for that matter. But is there anything too hard for the Lord? Certainly not. Okay, But how do I know if I'm a people pleaser? There's multiple ways of going around it, but the simplest is your answer to the question of the man with fish. How would you ensure that the man would always get fed?
The difference between agape lovers and people pleasers will be how they will ensure that this man will always get something to eat. If you would without fail knock on this man's door every morning to deliver his fish, or leave it in a basket with a cute little handwritten note, or even just come running to his becking will whenever he calls for more fish to eat,
then you're a people pleaser. As long as the people pleaser's there, the man will always have something to eat.
the agape lover would just simply teach him how to fish. Sure, they will bring him his fish for a short while whilst this man learns how to fish, but the point is that he can do it himself, so that whenever the agape lover isn't there to bring him the fish, he can always get himself fish to eat. If the people pleaser isn't able to bring the fish to him, he'll starve. That's not loving, because we aren't always going to be there for those who need us. Emergencies and accidents in this unsure walk of life will come up and pull us away, and what? We just want this poor man to just hope that's not the case?
Don't be delusional. Only one of the two has ensured that, even in the worst case scenario, the man is sorted. The other has just left him helplessly dependent on an absent savior. Perhaps it looks like I'm just here to push buttons and accuse. I don't want that to be what you take away from this, because that's not my point. And to help with that, I'll show you what people pleasing did to me. I'm used to being needed, whether it be my mum always calling me to do the chores, regardless of whether or not I was fighting for my life, or committee members constantly chucking tedious tasks my way, or even those struggling with their schoolwork, asking me to help with theirs. Most of my interactions with people in this last year have been based on a "I need you to do this" sort of dynamic. As a people pleaser, I didn't really care back then as well. It was I guess that's just how life goes. I don't want an earful from these people, and I want to just enjoy my peace. So let's just do what they say and leave it at that. But it was even worse in Key Stage 3. I couldn't even decide which of my friends I liked more, or even who had the better lunch, because I was too worried about offending the other person.
That came back to bite me when I came to my second year of university. First year, the people that I found were nice and never really asked me to do stuff I didn't already want to do. I did what I found pleasing as opposed to doing what others found pleasing. My second year flipped that whole script on its head. Whether it was someone demanding the last pounds for my bank account, or someone expecting me to micromanage the cooking of all the food at a barbecue and at the same time run across town to fetch butter, there was always someone needing something from me.
That got tiring fast, but I never thought about how life could be different until when a 59-year-old man hit on me. What? My encounter with that man is one of the many reasons why I'm no longer a people pleaser. That would be quite the title and thumbnail combination, wouldn't it though? Anyways, what did I learn from that man?
First, people can be deceiving and put on masks. They can pretend to be nice and simple, like sheep, but seek to tear you apart for their own selfish gain, like wolves.
In the case of that man, without being too vulgar, he just wanted me, in him, at Charing Cross for the very, very low price of £100. Of course, I didn't take him up on that offer, but it was an eye-opener to me. If my 13-year-old self had met this man, I would have been saying yes to everything, with it unfortunately ending up with him having access to my phone number, him and I being in a hotel room by ourselves, and him having his way with me. And that can't be. The verse I used to properly reflect on that situation was Matthew 10:16. Behold, I am sending you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. So be wise as serpents, and innocent as doves.
I don't need to be the one to tell you how sheep are. Cute, adorable, helpless little things at the mercy of their shepherd, or about the importance of innocence. But when we think of serpents, we think of nasty little plotting fiends who mean nothing but harm.
But then, why would Jesus ask us to be serpents also, and not just sheep and doves? Because serpents always think about the next step, the consequences of their actions. They know how to deal properly with the cunning of people because they know how people behave. They understand the depravity of the world that we live in and the people who live in it. However, we also don't lose our innocence of the wicked things of the world. But that doesn't give us a free license to be stupid or ignorant either.
We should remain innocent in that we do not take part in the wicked things of the world, but are street smart like serpents to recognize when these sorts of things are going down and respond appropriately.
And so, that's what I did.
No longer was I just the innocent dove and nothing else, but both the sheep and the serpent. I began to assess my interactions with others and gauge what their intentions really were. I distanced myself from those who intended to use me for other things which just weren't right, but I still made myself available to those who genuinely needed help.
Because remember, both people pleasers and God-fearers will be helping people, because everybody on this side of eternity needs help. All of us. The best of people pleasers may be, at best, either a sheep or a dove, or at worst, either a wolf or a serpent, but never both. A God-fearer must be both a sheep and a serpent.
But you don't have to learn the way I did. In fact, I'm making this video so that you don't have to. So I'd recommend that you take out your pen and paper and take notes, because I'm about to give you 3 simple steps to deal with your people pleasing. Step 1. You don't need them to acknowledge your efforts for you to feel better. The holes in our hearts that we try to fill with other stuff can only be filled by the supernatural action and love of God. Nothing else will do.
Let me explain it to you with a story. So, there was this woman named Miss Fidget, and she did it all in the house. She cooked plenty of hot meals. She did all the laundry, horribly I might add, and sat out waiting for you in the middle of the night if you didn't come home. She would even knit for everybody all these sweaters and cared ever so dearly for anybody who was sick, refusing to even let them leave their beds. Her family even begged her to stop, but oh, how could she? Without her, nothing would be done. Or was that so?
The family preferred cold meals in the hot summer to cool down, not another hot plate. The knitted clothes were ugly, but everyone wore them just because they felt they had to in order to please Mrs. Fidget.
Miss Fidget didn't help them because they needed her help, but so that in her busyness to do everything that she could for them, that her hyperactivity would help to silence her doubts about her quality of love towards them.
The more her feet burned and her back ached, the better, for this pain whispered in her ear, "How much I love them if I do all this." But all this time, what she thought was help was really a hindrance. When those that we help are hindered by what we are doing instead of flourishing by it, we are only hurting, and this is what people pleasing can do.
In our pursuit of our own selfish desire to feel needed, we forget to actually seek the needs of those we're actually helping and properly help them. Learn to say no more often. You might think you're being a douchebag, but you're being too hard on yourself. You don't need to say yes to everything somebody asks you to do. Saying yes when it's wise to say no is not what a serpent does, but only what a sheep does. Don't be just a mere sheep. Even in my life alone, there have been many times where it would have been wise and just straight up better for me to just say no. For instance, there was a time when a girl laid in my lap, but I thought nothing of it at the time because, well, most of my friends are guys. In fact, nearly all of them. Had I been clear and told her to respect my boundaries, she probably wouldn't have wandered off in dreams about a guy who wasn't really interested in anyone. There was another time when somebody had asked me to illegally download files from a DVD, and thankfully my mum found out and had me delete the file before anything bad happened. In general, my main point is this: the more times you say no to the things which aren't pleasing to God, the more time you'll have to say yes to the things that truly matter.
Don't let somebody's laziness drain you of the drive to pursue the things that God Himself has put before you.